Mm-hmm.
Recording in progress.
Welcome, everybody, to the LAFCO regular session meeting, June 13th, 2024 at 4 p.m. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Jordan?
Here.
Commissioner Betancourt?
Here.
Commissioner Casey?
Here.
Commissioner Curro?
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Here.
All 5 present.
Yay, thank you. The Pledge of Allegiance, can you please start us off on that, Commissioner Betancourt?
Ready, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the affidavit of posting?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. May I have a roll call, or all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Public comment period. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak on items that are not on the agenda. Public hearing 5.1, the fiscal year 24-25 final budget.
If you'd like to make a comment in chambers, please provide a speaker card. On Zoom, you can press *9 or the raise hand icon.
My bad, getting ahead of myself.
No comments.
Thank you. Okay, now down to business, public hearing regarding fiscal year 24-25 final budget. Executive officer.
Okay, there we go. So you should all have in front of you a newly updated final budget, a printout that was received, updated today. I finally received from the county the cost allocation plan, the portion that would be allocated to LAFCO in the next year. And that is significantly higher than what we had budgeted for, assuming it would remain fairly consistent with the previous allocation. So this current fiscal year, we allocated $10,541. And that is based on LAFCO's use of legal counsel and the auditor's office. And the allocation is based on expenditures from 2 fiscal years ago. So for 23-24, the allocation plan is based on use of those services from 2021. So apparently in 21-22, right, 21-22, the legal counsel was used much more than it had been in the previous fiscal year. So therefore, there's this higher allocation for this upcoming fiscal year. In the next fiscal year, in 25-26, because we have independent and outside legal counsel, then we should see a much lower cost. I believe the cost associated with the auditor's office for the time period for this allocation was only like $500. The remainder was all legal counsel. So, that being said, it's much different. It's about 18,000 more than what we had in the proposed budget. So I highlighted a couple of other items there in yellow that I'm proposing to do reductions in, just so that that 18,000 isn't entirely added to the new total. With those reductions and the addition to the cost allocation plan, there's a 7.1% increase proposed from this current fiscal year to 24-25. Now, that said, I expect in the next fiscal year, it should be lower, actually. We'll see a budget reduction because the allocation plan should not be as high. In fact, it should be very small. I've proposed with the auditor's office discussing plans for having LAFCO removed from the allocation plan and just on a receive services on a contract basis. We'll see what that option looks like. It's purely discussion right now, and I, of course, would seek the commission's direction once I find out more information on that and the benefits to that option. So you have a resolution, and the final budget that is proposed is the one that's printed out, not the one in your packet, unless you have further adjustments that you think would be wise, given that addition of the 18,000.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
I was going to ask a question. Okay, so should we move forward with the special districts having a seat? Then the new amount would be 263,340 divided by 3, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Comments, concerns? No? You good? Okay. Do we have public comment?
If you'd like to make a comment in chambers, please provide a speaker card. On Zoom, press *9 on your phone or the raise hand icon. Elia Salinas.
Hi, welcome.
Trying to keep me quiet. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I want to confirm that I heard correctly that in 2021 and 2022 was the report that the attorney fees were higher than usual. Is that correct? Because that was COVID 2021, unless 2021 was COVID. There was really no meetings. Nothing was really done. And in 2022 was even worse year when it had to do with legal representation because the legal counsel didn't get going until February or March. And then we still had issues, the commissioner still had issues with getting an executive officer, so there weren't that many meetings. How can we find out where the billing is as to why the bills were higher for the council? Thank you.
Chair, can I respond to that?
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
So I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's 22-23 is the year that's used for the allocation plan. So 2 years behind when it would be budgeted. So, but yes, you're correct. I question as well, knowing that in 22-23, you had some problems being active, right? And very few meetings from my understanding. So I asked about that and asked if we could get some kind of documentation on what hours were allocated to LAFCO by legal counsel during that fiscal year, just to get some justification as to why the higher legal rates. So I requested that today. So I would recommend budgeting right now for this amount, and if we have extra, great, but better than under budgeting.
Thank you. Commissioner?
We had, what, 2 meetings, B, with council?
Yes.
And there was, what, 5 lawyers there? Were we charged for all of those 5 lawyers?
I suppose I'll find out if they provide me with the information I requested. I don't know.
And it was during the duration where we didn't have quorum. It was just Richard and I on the board at the time.
Yeah.
The other commissioners hadn't been seated, and so we're curious.
Although I did have counsel with Barbara one-on-one. I don't know if you did or not.
No, I didn't.
No. Oh, okay.
But you were vice chair at the time, and so that would have been within your
Okay.
purview.
No, I was not vice chair. There was no vice chair. Right.
Okay. Well,
Anyway,
suppose we'll get an answer next month.
okay.
Hopefully.
Thank you.
Well, if there's any concerns, if you're looking at the year-to-date for the 23-24, it was only 6,187. So even though 20,000 was adopted, we only utilized 6,187. So it wasn't a significant amount, and it may be when you look at the breakdown, but we're still well within budget.
Right. So and that's from, BB&K and Joshua as our independent legal counsel, the costs so far to date. The 22-23 allocation plan shows a cost of legal counsel of $17,000. And that was when we were still using county counsel as legal counsel.
I have a quick question. I'm at a loss because I can't remember, but I thought I had asked about getting the cost allocation, like a breakdown, so we can see, more detail last time. Does that ring a bell?
Of expenses to date?
Yeah, just kind of looking at what's included in all of that, and just for my own understanding of what services were being provided and at what cost and all of that. Just like, I thought that I had asked, and he said there's something out there that you could get a hold of.
Yeah, so somebody asked that
I
question.
thought I
remember
had
hearing
asked
it, yeah.
something along those lines, and yeah.
Because I sign, or the chair signs off on invoices. So the commission asked for to actually see what that is.
So at the April meeting, I believe that was brought up, and it was, I thought, agreed upon that all of the invoices, et cetera, that are being charged would be included with the quarterly financial reports.
Okay.
So there hasn't been another quarterly financial report.
I couldn't remember what we decided, so thank you for refreshing my memory.
So you'll see that in August with the quarterly financial report, and pile of invoices included in there.
Thank you.
And then how I've used my hours as well as my staff, et cetera. It's all itemized in those invoices. Beyond that, I can certainly distribute also this allocation plan that the draft one that the county has provided, but there's only 2 line items and it's very confusing to read. Legal counsel, auditor's office. They show 17,000 for legal counsel, 500 for auditor's office, and then a rollover and a adjustment, and then all of a sudden it's 28,000. So I've had 2 meetings with the auditor's office on how that occurs. They're reaching out to their consultant they use to produce the allocation plan to provide me with a little bit better description on what's happening.
All right, thank you.
Crazy. Thank you. Resolution.
Need a motion to adopt
The budget.
budget?
Yes. Yes.
A motion? Yes, please.
Yes.
For the resolution. There's resolution 2024-04.
Approving the resolution. Okay.
I'll approve, I'll make the motion to approve per staff recommendation.
I second.
Thank you. Can I have a roll call, please, on that?
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner Betancourt,
Yes.
Commissioner Casey,
Yes.
Commissioner Curro,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
No.
4-1.
Thank you. 5.2, File 547 CSA 22 Cielo Vista, divestiture of wastewater services.
We have an application, 547, from the county on behalf of County Service Area 22 that serves the community of Cielo Vista. The community is faced with an aging wastewater system and treatment plant. As you may remember, we considered in December an out-of-area service agreement whereby Sunny Slope County Water District will own and operate collection system in the area and from a couple of other new developments nearby. And they're running a pipeline up to the City of Hollister treatment plant where the city will take over for treatment services. The commission approved that, well, I shouldn't say that. The commission found that that out-of-area service agreement was exempt from LAFCO consideration because it's an agreement between 2 public agencies. Because of that, they are moving forward with development of that pipeline, and Cielo Vista can capitalize on a cheaper option as opposed to refurbishing and rebuilding its whole wastewater treatment facility that is aging. They should be connected in July and August to this pipeline. So the proposal in front of you is to have an effective date of September 1st, where CSA 22 would no longer be empowered to provide wastewater services. They will be out of the wastewater business. They do need to continue to exist because there is debt in the CSA's name to the county, because the county's been footing the bill for some of the services provided. And so in order to repay that debt, they will continue to exist. So this is not a dissolution, it is a divestiture of wastewater services by CSA 22. The County Board of Supervisors has considered it and approved it and submitted the application with a resolution of application as well. Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
Quick question.
Go ahead.
So with the debt, from Cielo Vista to the county, is any of that, is that just between the county and the CSA until it's paid off and then it comes back to us for a complete removal of the services? Is that how, I'm trying to understand the process because it's kind of new to me.
So the CSA will continue to exist as an entity in order to allow for the assessment and channeling of the funds back to the county. Then once that debt is paid off, yes, it can be dissolved and that will have to come back to LAFCO for formal dissolution.
Now, previously, Cielo Vista had more services that the CSA provided from the county to that area. Over time, those services have been taken on by the homeowners. Is there full documentation of all of that so that this is all recorded very clearly, that there will no longer be any services provided by the CSA? My concern is documentation. That's my main concern.
I'll have to look in the CSA history. I don't know that any of those services have been formally divested from the district, but it also depends on when those services cease to be provided, because the cutoff date for when a district had to have been providing the services before it has to come to LAFCO to be reinstated is 2001. So if they were not providing the services as of 2001, that's kind of the line, then they wouldn't have had to come to LAFCO to divest themselves of it.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So, because I know they had roads, they had lights, they had other services, some landscaping. I believe the gate was part of it. And I've just, in talking to those property owners, there's not a whole lot of documentation. And so I would just want to make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's before we close this one out.
And I've got a whole CSA folder, but I'll have to go look at it.
Thank you.
Let you know.
Go ahead.
Is it my understanding that there is a HOA and a CSA in there? Is that correct?
I believe so.
Yes or no?
Madam Chair?
I think so. I don't.
There is.
Yeah, I would think so.
I can confirm that.
Okay.
There's an HOA and a CSA.
Right.
And the HOA has been taking over some of those services, but there hasn't been true documentation of that turnover, and that's the concern that I have. I don't want it to come back and have it say that we didn't dot our I's and cross our T's.
The other question I have, we divested, okay, so now there's no sewer system. Who's the property belong to? The county?
The facility property. So that was a discussion that was brought up at the community meeting that I took part in, and it's the community's property, so they were having discussions on what could be done with it. But there needs to be a shutdown process where they dismantle the facility, et cetera. But from there, that would be up to the community to decide.
And who's responsible for tearing down the building, and is that going to be the county or the community?
The CSA, which is
The CSA?
in essence the county.
Yeah, but aren't we dissolving it?
No, we're just removing the power to provide wastewater services. They'll continue to exist.
Oh, okay.
So just taking away that power, that's all.
But
They
then
can't.
the CSA is still in charge?
The CSA still exists and has control, which in essence is really the county and the Board of Supervisors.
So all we're doing is letting them hook up to the city sewer?
Right. And ensuring there's no duplication of services, right? That's the
okay.
idea here, because if you're giving the power to provide that service to Sunny Slope, the CSA should not also have that power.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Right, yeah, sorry, that was my clarification. We are only doing this for wastewater services, not all the other services that you were referring to, which still exist to some level, perhaps.
Maybe.
Perhaps.
Maybe not.
And we're not dealing with that right now, though. Okay.
Just a warning that there's things that the homeowners association took over that weren't documented. And I think the documentation, we need to catch up with what's actually happened. And I would like clarification on the land ownership, because my understanding was that the facility was owned by the property owners and the CSA itself, but the actual parcel was owned by the county. But that's a thing I would love to have verified so that we have accurate information on that.
I'll have to reach out to Steve to find out the answer to that. But I don't know that it affects the decision here today.
Any other concerns, questions?
So what, if the CSA is still alive, then the county doesn't really have to worry, right? Because we haven't dissolved the CSA per se. Just letting them hook up to city sewer.
Right. And the county has already approved this. They've had 2 different hearings to approve this on their end. The Board of Supervisors has approved the removal of wastewater services by CSA 22. So they're supportive.
They would have to come back to this body to dissolve the CSA,
Yes.
and who would approach us on that?
The county.
The county. Okay, thank you.
Got it, we're good. Public comment?
If you'd like to make a comment in chambers, please provide a speaker card. On Zoom, you can press *9 on your phone or the raise hand icon. And I have no comments.
Thank you. Can I have a motion then to approve Resolution 2024-05, File 547 CSA 22 divestiture?
Move to approve per staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Betancourt?
Yes,
Commissioner Casey?
Yes.
Commissioner Curro?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
5-0.
Thank you. Business items. Approval of minutes of May 9th, 2024 regular meeting. May I have a motion to approve? Does anybody have any discussion or clarification on the minutes? No? Public comment on them?
If you'd like to make a comment, please provide a speaker card. On Zoom, you can press *9 or raise hand icon. No comments.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
I'll go second then.
Okay, either or. Commissioner Casey first, Commissioner Gonzalez second. Can I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Betancourt?
yes,
Commissioner Casey?
Yes.
Commissioner Curro?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
5-0.
Thank you. 6.2, seating of special districts on LAFCO.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to bear with me while I go through a quite extensive report. I just want to provide some clarification on several questions that have been asked to date. So just bear with me while I go through each of these items. So for this agenda item, the commission is being asked whether it desires to invite special districts to join LAFCO. For those that have not been present at previous LAFCO meetings, approximately half of all LAFCOs in the state have special district representation. Special districts in San Benito do not have a voice equal to the county and the cities in LAFCO affairs, including the formation of new districts, the consolidation, merger, or dissolution of existing districts, annexations and changes of organization, and the establishment, amendment, and updates of spheres of influence. I want to emphasize that these changes of organization are not specific to cities. Special districts regularly apply to LAFCO for boundary and organizational changes. Special districts have a vested interest in LAFCO actions as it has oversight over their existence, and LAFCO has the potential to make a decision that would affect a particular district without the perspective and concern that only special districts seated on the commission could provide. It should be clarified that LAFCO is not a land use authority. That responsibility and power rests solely with the county and cities. LAFCO's statutory mission is to encourage orderly boundaries, discourage urban sprawl, preserve agriculture and open space, and promote efficient and sustainable public services. Including special districts in LAFCO decisions would aid in making more informed decisions regarding service provision to applications for consideration, and thereby better meeting LAFCO's statutory mission. In order to join LAFCO, special districts would be responsible for funding 1/3 of LAFCO's operating costs. The law has a formula requiring special districts to pay that 1/3 based on its ratio of revenues to the cumulative independent special district revenues in the county, unless another formula is otherwise agreed to by the cities in the county. The approximate allocation for each of the districts based on that 1/3 is attached in your agenda packet. At the May 8th meeting, the commission recommended that an alternative funding structure be approved by the member agencies to support special districts in participating on LAFCO. LAFCO staff circulated the request to the agencies with a draft resolution to approve a 1/5 funding structure for the special districts as opposed to the 1/3 funding structure. The city of San Juan Bautista passed the resolution at their meeting on June 3rd. The county of San Benito tabled the resolution due to a tied vote and requested further outreach to the public. The city of Hollister did not vote on the resolution as it failed to receive the motion and second required to go to vote. The commission can move forward with inviting the special districts to vote without the alternative funding structure, if that is your desire today. The 1/3 funding allocation would then be in effect. To clarify the process for seating districts on LAFCO, as defined by law in Government Code 56332.5, there are two possible paths. One path can be initiated by the districts themselves by a resolution submitted to LAFCO. This is the process we are using to ensure the special districts support being seated on LAFCO. This process does not require a formal invitation from LAFCO, but it is a way to organize the districts and solicit their preference in an organized manner. The other path is initiation by LAFCO and then calling of a meeting of special districts to affirm their seating and then select representation. So either option is available to the commission today. It's recommended that the commission consider the letter of invitation in order to preemptively collect the special district preferences prior to calling of a meeting for voting. A nomination and voting process to determine special district representation would then be managed by the executive officer. Staff has conducted outreach to the special districts and governing bodies through an informational letter, an invitation to LAFCO meetings, 2 informational emails to staff and governing body members of all independent special districts, and a public workshop with a presentation on LAFCO and special districts. The commission has agendized this item for discussion also at 5 meetings since December. So there's been quite a bit of discussion. So all of that being said, you have the options in front of you to invite the special districts to initiate by resolution on their own behalf, or to bring it forward with a resolution at our next meeting to initiate it as a commission. That would be without the preemptive vote of the special districts, so it's really hard to know if it has enough support to pass at the special district level. The vote would then be conducted in person by the special districts, whether they choose to affirm that representation or not. So those are the two options in front of you, or status quo, and the districts, if they desire to join, can organize themselves and adopt the resolutions and submit those to LAFCO.
Madam Chair, are you taking questions from others? You can go straight to the public first.
No, we can start it off. Have at it.
Okay, so one of the reasons why I voted no on the budget is because on page 39 of our packet, it's still reflecting the old figure that would be divided the 30%, 33% to the districts. And so the new figure is now 87,780 versus the 81,988. And so, Madam Clerk, is it possible for you to get us a breakdown of each of the districts in terms of what they're, I know you can't do it right now, but maybe email it to us? And the reason I'm asking is I reached out to two districts personally, and their board was not aware of these conversations going on. And the board member at each of those districts that I spoke with said there would be an interest, but their body had not brought it to them, and they did not have the full conversation. So I guess my question back to you is, do we foresee any kind of I don't want to say retaliation, but any kind of obstruction of us moving forward if we go ahead and go a LAFCO motion now that we're imposing 87,780 on these special districts? And what has been the general consensus of your conversation? Because you've done all the communicating with the districts. We haven't as commissioners. We only participated in the meeting that you had where you had brought in, I think a majority of the districts were here that day. But I don't know what all 9 think and feel about this. And so I'm not trying to stir the pot. I'm just trying to get an understanding of what the consensus is out there so we can move forward in the direction we think that's right for the community without shoving anything down anyone's throat.
So today you'd be considering, that's the reason I'm recommending the first option, which is an invitation, because it gives the districts each the opportunity at their own board meetings to consider the resolution of whether to join or not. I think that it's the preferred route. And for that reason, because then they can have that discussion. They can ask questions of LAFCO if they desire, and they can indicate whether they want to join or not, in essence, like a vote. I think generally they have been supportive based on the conversations that I have had. I have even heard that 1/5 or 1/3, it didn't matter. And that they were still supportive of the option of joining.
That's good to hear, because I kind of feel responsible because I'm the one who was advocating that it wasn't fair for the districts to have to encumber 33% of our budget, and they're coming new to the table, joining and having a seat at the table here on the dais, but not fully understanding what the role and what the responsibility would be on them. So I was thinking in terms of the financial impact that it might be for each of the districts, and it seems like that's just created a whole world of hurt in the various municipalities that doesn't necessarily need to be, because this authority exists by law, this invitation that we're trying to do, and I would like to see for it to go forward. So again, I just apologize for, but I was kind of thinking fiscally sound for the entities, the special districts.
Thank you. Madam Chair? Go ahead. So, I am in support of the invitation only. The whole point of this when we went to Cal LAFCO was to engage special districts with the understanding of what LAFCO is, how LAFCO can support them, how they can have an opportunity to have a vote at LAFCO if they want it or not, but it's really up to them. I'm sorry that the 1/5 wasn't something that we could have brought forward to lighten the load on these jurisdictions. I was very supportive of the 1/5, but I am supportive of the invitation to keep the conversation going. The number one thing that I have seen out of all of the special districts in the years of working with them is a lack of communication communication between either the agencies or departments so that they understand what their roles are and what services are available to them. So all of this process is to really help educate the special districts about what LAFCO is, how LAFCO can either help them or support them or assist them in different areas, but then also making sure that that communication, that line of communication, especially when it comes to their jurisdictional boundaries. From my past experience and career, having special districts understand that LAFCO is kind of the house that keeps everything in check of the boundaries and making sure that things are documented. Just that education alone is the most valuable thing in the world to me for special districts, to ensure that only people that are eligible to vote in their jurisdictions are voting. And so there's my real reason. And I do wish we could have gotten the 1/5. My question to you is, if we send this invitation, do the special districts have the ability to make a request of LAFCO or the jurisdictions, the 2 cities and the county, since we have one city that did approve the 1/5? Do they have the authority to say, if the other jurisdictions agree, they would consider, if the 1/3 is too much and they'd consider doing the 1/5? Is there a process to that in all of this request, or is it we have to do it in advance?
Not in government code. I would say that you can always make that, sorry.
I got the tickle too. I feel it coming, you guys. It's like it came through the air.
That there's always the ability to reduce their allocation even during this time that they're being asked to vote. So if it were to be reconsidered by each of the affected agencies, then it could still take effect. Also, it would be up to the special districts to kind of organize themselves to come up with that request.
Okay, great. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
A couple of things. So one is about the 1/5 versus 1/3. At first, I was more supportive of the 1/5, but I was looking at the list you had attached to the agenda, and it looks like it's all kind of sliding scale depending on the size of the budget, and the tiny district's going to pay very little to nothing. So I'm not as concerned about that anymore, and certainly given the, what occurred at our meeting, I don't know that I want to bring it back. But I did, I am in favor of the invitation. I don't want to, pursue something. I'd rather let them have, say they're interested. But one question that came up for me in looking at the districts was in particular the Aromas Water District, because I discovered that that's a tri-county district. And so there are people sitting on there that don't actually live in the county. So I would feel kind of strange about having anybody sitting on LAFCO if they happen to be the one selected that doesn't actually live in the county, making decisions for our county. So how does that work? I'm just curious.
So, yes, San Benito is the principal county for Aromas Water District. So they would be the voting member in the selection committee. But I mean, it's really up to the special districts and their selection committee to make that determination on who will be the representatives. And I am certain that they would agree with that idea that it would be kind of ridiculous, really,
Could that
to have someone.
Could that be a stipulation that the board member from that particular district, because it is a tri-county district, could that be a stipulation that it be a San Benito County officer?
So I don't believe that the commission can make that stipulation. I think it would have to be up to the special districts to make that decision and agreement amongst themselves. Just like the selection committee for the cities has come up with a pattern for appointing, say, the alternate member. It would be the same for the special districts. They would have to come up with the agreement on who they would select or not select. Josh, can you correct me if I'm wrong? on that.
Yeah, and Jennifer, I was actually pulling up the statute because my recollection was the same as yours, but I pulled it up and it actually does provide that the members of the independent special district who are appointed, as representatives for the special districts, so the commission must be residents of the county. So in that situation, we would be covered by the government code.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's why we have legal counsel.
Well done. Thank you, Josh.
Nice question. Well done.
And can I just add clarification to that? Is that, because there was some confusion at the board meeting about, who selects who these special district representatives would be if they do choose to join LAFCO. One, it would be out of the 9 special districts. Each of those special districts, those boards would have to vote, and the majority of that board would have to vote saying that they agree that they would like to join LAFCO, and we'd have to get 5 out of 9. Then out of all of them, if it passes, then all of those special districts, their boards can nominate someone to be one of the 2 or alternate appointed to the commission, and then all of those boards vote on it, or is it just, how does that,
There's
how does
a
that work?
selection committee.
Okay, so
is how it's
they create a
voiced.
selection committee? Mm-hmm. Okay.
That would, maybe this is where Josh has access to the government code. So the composition of the selection committee, is it 1 per district?
That's correct. Although I would note, though, in practice, what a lot of special districts will do is just go ahead and do an election rather than appointing committee members who then vote.
Okay, so kind of like instead of doing the electoral college, they just let everybody vote on it. Got it. Thank you, Josh.
And as a follow-up, just to be very, very clear, because of things that have been said, this commission has no vote or selection of any special district representation. So we are not part of that process. Just wanted to make it clear.
Josh, would you mind just telling us if that's right?
That is correct. The only commissioners that the commission itself selects are the public representative and the alternate.
Thank you, Josh.
And I do want to
And
clarify that the districts could request of LAFCO that it join, and LAFCO would be mandated to accept that request. So they could do that independently outside of the invitation, just so that everybody is aware.
So they can come individually and everybody get a seat at the table?
No. They submit the resolutions to LAFCO. The invitation from LAFCO is not required. So it would be a similar process where they would approve a resolution of desire to join LAFCO and submit that to LAFCO. And then we would be required to accept that as initiation of them being seated.
Okay.
Still only 2 voting members and
Still
1
only-
alternate.
Right.
Okay.
The outcome would all be the same. I'm just saying they have that ability to start the process themselves if they desired.
Okay.
Jennifer, I thought that select committee can elect one of those districts to be on that board ongoing.
That's another thing that would be up to the special district selection committee, if that's what it came down to decide, whether there would be a permanent seat for, say, 1 district.
And the reason being for that would be?
Well, there was discussions that there were a couple of districts that are footing a larger portion of the bill.
Oh, I wanted to hear that come out of your mouth, not mine. Yeah.
So that perhaps they may deserve a continuous seat on LAFCO versus the smaller districts that are paying a very small fraction.
And we did hear that kinds of conversation during the 5 nights that attended the meeting, the public meeting. Yes, okay.
It just seems to me that the biggest payers would want to have a permanent member on this body. But that's up,
to them.
what you say is up to the select committee. So that would be voted on by the 9 districts.
Exactly.
So it could be the San Juan Cemetery District who's paying nothing.
It could be,
It could
but
be.
based on the converation at the last workshop, I don't think that that's what will
Yeah, I'm
occur.
just, what if, yeah.
Mr. Bones.
And Jennifer, from the Cal LAFCO and talking to some of those special districts, some of them in other jurisdictions have had agreed upon rotation of the higher paying jurisdictions where like it's the first highest paying and then it alternates the next year to the next highest so that there's one seat that's always being represented by the higher payer. But that's all negotiated by the special districts and not this body.
Correct.
Okay. Just again, trying to clarify. Thank you for taking all of our questions.
So then going through the handbook, we'd have to revise that because they would be then a commissioner on the commission.
Right, we would add, I think there's just a couple of areas that would need a change, but, it's timely because we're already in the middle of amending it.
So I appreciate all of the meetings that we have had on this. We've had 5, 1 public workshop, 2 emails to everybody, county, cities, special districts, John Q. Public and Jane Q. as well.
Anyone on my email list?
And to add, I also did it personally myself to everyone that had an email on the board of directors of each of the special districts.
And I received maybe 5 phone calls today saying, I know nothing about this. So the question was, can we table this so that we could have more public meetings? And it was that one jurisdiction would have the meeting, and I'm like, but it's not your meeting. It would be LAFCO's meeting, so LAFCO would have to have another public meeting. So I'm just throwing that out there that I received 5 phone calls today on holding off until a public forum can be had.
Yeah, I heard the talk about that as well, and even at the supervisors meeting about having town halls and all that. But the fact is that this is a legal thing. It's, what are we, what are we discussing? I mean, if the special districts can come without any help from us, I mean, why would we sit and discuss it? I mean, we could put out information, but it seems like a lot of time spent on something that we don't have the power to say no to something like this anyway. So what's the point of having a meeting so we can table it for a while and people can come in to say they don't like it, but it's a legal right. So it's not something we have an option. We can say, no, we don't want to do this, if special districts want to join. So just a thought.
Can I add to that, Madam Chair?
Yeah.
The letter is just an invitation. It doesn't mean anything unless they decide. So if we really want to get some talking happening, I think the letter will instigate that conversation. And if from that they want to have more outreach from the commission, aside from what the Board of Supervisors decided in their outreach decision, which I'm not sure how that's going to actually work. So I may need to talk to you with my other hat on. I think the letter will start that conversation a little more quickly and get a little more engagement. So maybe we could look at the letter with a twist to that, like we're inviting you, and if you'd like us to have a presentation at your your special district board meeting, we would be happy to do that. Not saying without this commission's approval from us to let Jennifer
line
do that.
item is that?
But being able to go to those special district meetings and do presentations as needed to be able to get them more informed. Just a thought, because it's moving it along and maybe, looking at the time frame a little more liberally or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's why I prefaced what I said about who would be hosting the meeting if it were a town hall meeting. It wouldn't be the county, the
Well, that's
board of
what's-
supervisors. It wouldn't be the city of San Juan Bautista. It wouldn't be the city of Hollister. It would be the LAFCO commission
Which
doing that.
That's where the Board of Supervisors requested to do more outreach, but what does that look like? It's not like the Board of Supervisors or county staff could do that. They're going to have to do a formal request to you for us to say, yes, we'll do more outreach, which I'm totally supportive of the outreach, but I also am very supportive of the letter because I think it'll get people moving on the conversation. That's my 2 cents.
Can I just add, speaking of the letter, you give them till October 1st, 2024. So in light of the other commissioners suggesting maybe some sort of meeting does or doesn't happen, would we want to schedule a town hall informational kind of meeting well before the October 1st date? I would say maybe July, August, maybe. Yeah,
I'm open to that.
okay.
I think that
Do both.
the special districts, I mean, we've invited them, and maybe we should give them a timeline.
That's what I was saying, rather than wait until October 1st to find out if they want it or not. Let's kind of get a meeting July, August sometime, informational. Those that are against it can state their opinion. Those that support it can go ahead and give their support. But at least we'll have a firmer idea of what the community wants
Right.
and the special district's desire of LAFCO.
And send the letter.
And send the letter. Definitely send the letter.
With that, what happens if a special district fails to vote?
It's considered a no vote.
Okay. I think that needs to be known, is that if they do not take action, there is an action being taken, which is a no vote. So if they don't respond to these and you have 5 that don't respond or 3 no votes and 2 non-responders, it's a no. It doesn't cut out. It's not like regular voting. If you don't vote, you have no say. It actually makes it a no vote. Just so that's out there in the public.
You're saying that should be part of the letter.
Well, it doesn't have to be part of the letter. It's just understanding. It could be part of the letter, but it's understanding that even no action is a vote. It just is a no vote.
Because normally a silence is acquiesce to what's moving forward. So I think we should clarify that. If they fail to vote or respond, that will be deemed a no vote on this issue.
So additions, my understanding right now are a couple of additions. The idea of offering presentations at board meetings, individual district board meetings, if they request it. Another town hall public workshop kind of presentation sometime in August where anyone is invited to voice their opinion. And finally, clarifying that inaction is really a no vote. Okay, so those 3 things right now I'm taking as direction. Of course, you'll have to vote on it, but I just want to make sure that I've got it all.
Okay, then on that note, I'd like to we move forward.
That we still have public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, not a problem. We can go to public comment now and then bring it back to the commission.
If you'd like to make a comment on Zoom, please press *9 or the raise hand icon. In chambers, we have Elia Salinas.
I was actually going to tell Vanessa, no, I wasn't going to speak, but so here's my suggestion for you to think about is that letter going out to the individual district members, or is the letter being addressed to the district? Now, if the letter is addressed to each individual district member, then they cannot say they didn't get the letter, because the letters did go out and individual district members or commissioners, whatever their title is, did not get the information. So I think spending more money on stamps and emails, if we have their emails as well, I think would be the best way to make sure everyone gets noticed. And it's not like Commissioner Jordan said, she got 5 phone calls today and they don't know what's going on. The public doesn't know what's going on. 90-something higher percentage of the public is not aware what LAFCO does. And the agenda item was politicized in both the city and the county with misinformation.
Yeah.
So that's what has started this town hall. Do you really need a town hall to please whom? I think that you send an individual letter to everyone that serves on those districts, and then they can invite people to their meetings when they decide to have Ms. Stevenson show up and give them an explanation. What is this? What are your rights? What's going on? I mean, it's up to you to decide if you want a workshop, but who in the public is going to show up to a LAFCO workshop that's not involved already in the district, that would not be a member of that district? So, my 2 cents.
Thank you.
No
Okay.
further comments.
Oh, you do? Oh.
I got it.
What?
Do you have any comments, Greg? He's an ex-Trespinas Water District.
While he comes up, I just want it for the record. I did get all the emails from the county clerk's office that were on file, and I sent to every district board member and their main contact of the district, and I have that in an Excel if you'd like it.
I also, and I even solicited from those districts that they didn't have on file, I have found, even down to the cemetery district, individual email addresses for board members. They all received 2 emailings, so.
To comment on a letter, you know, going to the directors of each of these or going to the entire public. I think most of them are not going to pay attention, and the cost of all of those letters, I know, is going to be high. You're going to try and send something to everybody in the county.
Oh, no.
That you know, you'd be better off just putting an ad in a paper or something that way. That's the only opinion I have on this, because I know what it costs to send out a bunch of letters. And it would be quite a bit, and I think it would be a waste of money. It's responsibility of the special districts to contact their people. And if the people are not interested enough to get involved, then to me, they have no right to say anything. It's just the way I feel.
Thank you.
Did I misunderstand him or us? That's a letter not going out to everybody in the county. It's just individuals, the 5 members on each one of those
District board.
districts, correct?
And their main contact, because most districts have a general manager or an office manager or somebody, so it's a total of 54 letters that would be going out. Did we have more public comment? Was there?
No, we have no
Okay,
more.
sorry.
So-
I don't know why I thought we did.
I did too. So back to the commission. Any questions, more comment, more chatting?
I have more. Do
share.
Right? Just listening to all talk, at first I thought, why have a workshop? Why have a town hall? But in the interest of allowing anyone who wants to come in and say anything about this. There's no harm in that, and if it helps to educate people on what actually we're doing, then maybe it can dispel some of the misinformation mill that keeps happening here. So I'd be supportive of that, just having a meeting or a town hall or whatever you want to call it. We can do it here. It doesn't have to be a big, big deal, just an extra meeting and invite the public in.
Thank you for that, because that was kind of my intention for the meeting before October 1st, to make sure we have all clarity. If there's any doubt, you support it or not, we hear it, firsthand. And so if there aren't any further conversations, I'd like to move that we take the staff recommendation to approve the inviting of the independent special districts to join LAFCO, direct staff to distribute the formal invitation asking each district board to approve or deny the resolution with all of the amendments that were suggested, such as, clarify a no vote or no response is a no vote, the town hall that we will have, and that we make sure we address the emails, letters to each district board member within that each special district. Is that all the suggestions?
Can I add one thing?
Yes.
Madam Chair? It is just if the special districts ask for a presentation to their board, that we authorize Jennifer to do those presentations.
Yes. Friendly amendment accepted. Thank you.
I second.
I got a question. Can we put it on the agenda and have a discussion here at our meeting?
We've already had a first and second. Can we have more discussion on this?
No, at town hall.
Yeah, you can continue the
talk
discussion.
after this.
Town hall at our meeting.
Yes, it would be at our meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It would be at our meeting. And if we can still discuss this, then, would we have a town hall before sending the letter out?
Well, I don't
No.
They can be concurrent,
The letter
or
goes
letter
out.
first and then, okay.
Because the letter's going to identify the meeting date, the town hall date, whatever day we're going to have this, whatever we want to call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then that letter will be sent to each jurisdiction's
members.
council and boards. Thank you. Okay, may we have a first
And a second.
and a second? May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Betancourt?
Yay.
Commissioner Casey?
Yes.
Commissioner Curro?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
5-0.
Thank you. Cal LAFCO board nominations. See.
Give me 1 minute to get there. Okay, so Cal LAFCO is asking for nominations for board members to take part in board meetings and decisions. Right now in the coastal region, a county member position is available and a district member position is available. So what that would entail is we would submit nomination to Cal LAFCO, and an election would occur at the October conference at Tenaya Lodge in Fish Camp. And that's October 16th to the 18th. And they hold the first board meeting there at the conference the next morning. I think they have quarterly meetings, and I think a majority of them are available virtually, so it doesn't really require travel. And they talk about everything from policy to legislative concerns to various other things. So it would be a great honor if somebody from this commission could be on that board.
Well, I guess that question goes to Commissioner Curro, because you're the only county eligible.
I'm going to nominate her.
I
Whether you're asking or not, I'm
I didn't want to push
nominating
it on her
her.
plate, but you go ahead and nominate. I'll second it, yes. Her plate is rather full right now, though.
It could be empty in the future, so who knows?
Before we go there, county member and district member,
Since there's no district member, we don't have any districts.
that would be special districts. Thank you very much for that clarification. then I'm nominate Commissioner Curro. But we can have a discussion on it first.
Well, I'll second that, but I want to let her have the opportunity to decline if she so chooses.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If you'd like to make a comment in chambers, please provide a speaker card on Zoom. Press star 9 or the raise hand icon. In chambers, we have Elia Salinas.
Hi, welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Well, we haven't had the commission either, so I'm just throwing stuff out.
All right, so y'all beat me to it, but I request that Commissioner Curro take into consideration that this is a really great opportunity, not only for her as an individual, but for San Benito County to be represented. We've all attended meetings, and we need to get more females up there. And we need, more than anything, we need a San Benito County representative. We haven't had a San Benito County representative. I did nominate Commissioner Gonzalez, and the individual said, hey, please don't compete against me, you know, and then the guy ends up quitting, you know? So I was very disappointed to find out that that had happened, and I don't believe that Ms. Curro is going to be a quitter, and I think that it would be in the best interest of San Benito County LAFCO for her to be up there and represent us. So thank you.
Great, thank you for phrasing it nicely.
Well, I'm just going to say I'm honored and humbled with all of your support on this, and I am a real advocate for LAFCO and have worked hard over the years to understand it more and more before I even got into this role, because I couldn't get the answers that I felt I needed to understand it in the role I was in previously. So I would be truly honored to be nominated to run for this seat, and we'll see what happens in October. So
Well, that just means we all have to attend the LAFCO. Yeah, well, we all need to attend the LAFCO, so at least she has a vote from her own commission.
Do we have any other discussion on this? No? Any other public comment? None? Okay, so how say you? Yes?
you have a first and a second, and so
Well, we just want to make sure that.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm
All right.
good.
May I
I
have a roll call,
appreciate you
please?
guys so much.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner Betancourt,
Yes.
Commissioner Casey,
Yes.
Commissioner Curro,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Oh, yes.
5-0.
Thank you very much.
And thank you guys. I really appreciate the support. But I do need campaigners now.
I think I have football that weekend, sorry. I'll be at Penn State. 6-4, Cal LAFCO legislative proposal.
I do want to just follow up the last item with, we don't have to make a decision today, and it's not on the agenda to do so, but consideration of who will be representing this commission at the conference. We budgeted for 3 individuals, but we do have contingency funds. If you choose to send extras, great, but we don't have to make a decision until August. So at that time, we'll determine who's attending, and then also who the voting delegate will be. Let's see here, legislative proposal. Cal LAFCO Ledge Committee, I'm on it, and they've sent out a solicitation for legislative proposals for the next legislative year. And I am working to submit a proposal because I have a few counties that are all affected by the same issue, is that it is mandated in law for certain items to be noticed by publishing in an adjudicated newspaper within the county. And as you know, there's not one in San Benito County.
Yes, there is.
In
The
an adjudicated.
freelance,
Isn't it printed in Gilroy?
Yeah.
it has to be printed here, not
Printed in
distributed
the
here. 'cause
county,
We use
published.
it for city notifications, so.
Right. And that's common to do it outside of the county, but it doesn't meet actually the letter of the law.
Gotcha.
Which is the case also in a couple of my other counties, that they don't also have a printed newspaper. They actually have 0 printed newspapers within like a 100-mile radius. So they're printing in a couple counties away. So the purpose.
Question, does Mission Village Voice not fall under that?
I don't know if it's adjudicated.
Okay.
Legal printed version. Okay. So because of that, one, we will never meet the letter of the law in publishing in these newspapers. And that being said, individuals reading published newspapers has dwindled. And online versions are probably the predominant source of information for most people if they're looking for noticing. But that online noticing does not meet the letter of the law either. So what I'm looking to do is come up with a proposal that would either allow for online noticing to suffice for those counties that do not have an adjudicated printed newspaper within their county boundaries, or transition, or give an exemption, I guess, for those counties. I'm going to have to figure out what's the least contentious option to propose to the Ledge Committee. That being said, on the form, I do have to list what LAFCOs would be supportive of the proposal. And so I have asked my other counties that are affected as well if they would consider supporting the proposal. So that's what I'm here asking. Would you support such a proposal to Cal-AFCO Ledge Committee?
I would say yes, in that we don't have the printed requirement, but we have a lot of online sources. And so, and it would help all of us with that same problem.
Madam Chair? Go ahead. So because we do have a circulated, it doesn't meet the letter of the law, would we be able to support this with the understanding that we still, in our county, our LAFCO would still like to have it printed so that we're hitting more people, not just the online people, while we do have some printed? I support the amendment to be able, or the proposed legislation because of the issue, but could we also still, as a local LAFCO, say that we still want to print in like the Freelance or the Mission?
Certainly, most certainly. And, I could add something, I haven't come up with specific language yet because I'm still fleshing it out, but something to the effect that if there is an adjudicated newspaper in print in a neighboring county, that would continue to be made use of or something like that.
And just because we don't, or it doesn't mean, just because the requirement isn't there to print in a paper, this LAFCO and body could say, we have a policy that we print in whatever local paper we have available.
Right.
Okay.
That could certainly
That's
be
my
in
only concern.
bylaws.
Because I do still know there are people that are not online, that only read newspaper, and I don't want to leave those people out.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Public comment?
If you'd like to make a comment in chambers, please provide a speaker card. And no one is on Zoom. No public comment.
Okay. So we are all in support of this?
I'm in support, but I'm stepping away.
Okay. I think you have the commission's support. Did you have anything to say? Mish? No? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Sounds good. So I can add your name, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Discussion item 6.5, discuss and proposed edits to the LAFCO Commissioner Handbook and Administrative Policies.
The last time we left off on page 22, we had gone through the first 22 pages of proposed edits. So I wanted to start there. and go through the final 20 or so pages so that then at the August meeting, the newly updated policies could be adopted. So if you have any comments or questions or input or feedback or ideas on what else needs to be added, please let me know as we go through page by page. So let's see here. Item number 8 is where we're starting, LAFCO budget and financial procedures.
Oh, wait. Oh, yes. Thank you.
Okay. And on that first page, I do not propose any edits or changes.
We're on page 22.
Thank you.
And on page 23, there are a couple of additions that I'm proposing. One is just allowing for the commission to reduce or waive fees if it finds that the payments of the fees would be detrimental to the public interest, and that any request for a fee reduction or waiver must be submitted in writing to the executive officer. Actually, now that I'm looking at this, I want to add and approved by the commission at an agendized meeting.
And there are ways to show that it would be a detriment, right? I mean, they will have to provide mega proof.
Right. I mean, they could show us their budget or something to that effect, or their account status. I mean, this would be in the case of likely, let's say a district is going under and going to claim bankruptcy imminently and is looking for consolidation. And in that case, I think it would be apparent that it's detrimental.
Yep. Okay.
I propose changing the word periodic to quarterly for the financial status reports, as has already been adopted by the commission. Let's see here, authorized expenses. It's just detailing what authorized expenses would be that could be reimbursed.
Madam Chair, can I, because before we go any further on the quarterly, we asked with backup on approved invoices. Is that something that we want to include in there? Because that was one of the requests of the commissioners, is that we provide that backup. And it doesn't have to be printed. It could be the electronic version where we can just kind of review it. I mean, save paper and all.
Would it meet your needs if I said inclusive of supporting documents and
Documentation?
invoices?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah. And if y'all have something to say, just shout it out. We'll go a lot faster. I hope.
Okay. So a definition of authorized expenses and what would be reimbursed or reimbursable. Of note is that anything outside of these would require prior commission approval. And then letter F. So the letter F is just to clarify that the reimbursement for reasonable and necessary expenses would be incurred for authorized transportation, lodging, meals, and other incidental expenses incurred while performing duties of their office. So essentially that it just needs to be authorized prior to conducting that travel or expense in question.
I might be jumping the gun here, but is there any wording about whomever we contract with for payables, that they follow our policy, not if it's another jurisdiction, possibly their policy? What I'm hinting at is if you have a conflict in payment of an invoice, it shouldn't be looking at a policy from another jurisdiction. It should be looking at the policy of this commission.
Are you talking like a 15-day versus a 30-day?
I'm talking that they can't challenge payments because it doesn't meet county policy when the policy by the county does not influence the LAFCO commissioner's policy when there's policy conflicts.
Thank you for suggesting that. I was thinking maybe something like a duration timeframe too, in terms, must be submitted within so many days, because I know myself, the last October LAFCO, I still have not found my receipts for reimbursement, and we're going into the next fiscal year, so I'm going to be, out it because of my own doing. But I would think they would have some sort of timeframe that it should be submitted, so that way it wouldn't be a bar also or an obstacle to reimbursement from the county either, but timely, maybe a timeliness issue.
Timeliness, okay. So first, Commissioner Curro's question, letter N.
See, I jumped ahead. I knew I did. Sorry.
Continue down to page 26. Letter N is conflicting policies and says, should LAFCO's policies conflict with those of the agency providing accounting services, LAFCO's policies shall take precedence.
Yay.
Yay, thank you. I knew you were going to have something put in there.
Okay, so something about timeliness. Let's see here.
Yeah, within a 60, 90,
I thought I
120 days or something. I mean, it's almost a year for me, but that's my own fault.
We can add it there, reimbursement of commissioner expenses. Requests for reimbursement should be completed within, what's a 90-day timeline?
Make it timely.
Yeah, that needs to be quantifiable.
She said 90 days.
Yeah.
That's sufficient.
Okay. Okay. And I can go ahead and add that same requirement to each of the reimbursement of, including staff expenses and legal counsel expenses as well.
What page are you on?
24.
24, and we're under travel reimbursements now.
Aye.
Yeah, letter I.
Got it.
I-11 talks about a 60-day.
Oh, does it 60 day? Oh, yep, you're right. Okay, so we don't need that 90 day then. It's right there.
60 days. Okay, good.
I can change it to 90 days if you think that's more reasonable, up to the will of the commission.
I think 60 is.
60 is good. Makes it
60 is good.
consistent.
Okay. Okay, any questions on any of the travel reimbursement requirements?
I got a car rental fees. Only compact,
Only compact.
mid-sized cars,
No sports cars for you.
electric.
It's asking how about electric?
I'm just kidding.
What about Model A's?
Hey, that's an idea.
Okay, and I think these are fairly common requirements that are included in here. Let's see here. Processing, letter J is the newly approved policy that the commission already considered, and that was so that the executive officer can authorize invoices that are under $500, and then all other expenses in excess of $500 would be approved for processing by the LAFCO chair, with the exception also of legal counsel, which the executive officer is allowed to approve. The financial reserves policy, this was already considered and approved at your September meeting, I believe, is when it was considered. So this has already been approved by the commission.
L3, can I make one slight change? Mm-hmm. Third line down, it says and San Benito. Can we change that to San Juan Bautista?
Oh, yes.
Third line down.
In parentheses, County of San Benito and cities of Hollister and San Juan Bautista.
Yep. Sorry about that.
That's
The
okay.
brain gets ahead of the fingers. Okay. Okay, so let's see here. And all of these, like I said, were already considered and approved by the commission generally. And then scrolling down, I already pointed out letter N, the conflicting policies item. And that's important because as Commissioner Curro noted, we have had instances where the county has made additional demands on what's required to get things processed that are not necessarily LAFCO requirements. So being able to point to this and say, we're separate and this is the LAFCO policy is really important. Number 9, moving right along, LAFCO staffing and support services. I had just added content to clarify exactly what the executive officer's role is and scope of services is. And it's quite a bit. And then letter C adds what the legal counsel responsibilities are. And wow, look at us moving on. Number 10, information regarding Cal LAFCO. I just edited the membership dues because they've been adjusted recently, how they're calculated within the last few years.
I have, sorry. Interchangeably, it's capital LAFCO, all capital, and then sometimes there's a capital S, sometimes there's a little s. What are we going with? And can we, is that
Oh, it generally should be a lowercase s. Have you seen a capital S?
in 10, California Association of LAFCOs?
Oh, okay. I think it's just because the entire thing is capitalized, and that's why it was,
Okay.
that's why. But yeah, generally lowercase s.
I got a question.
Sorry.
Jennifer, I know when our when it's time for us to go through training, you guys are notified in the county and the cities, but us public members may not forget, so shouldn't it be your responsibility to notify us so that we don't yeah, conflict of
The
interest.
conflict of interest and ethics training,
ethics
et
training.
cetera. Right, and I think that was in a previous section. I'll have to go back and reference where it was. But yes, it does say that I'll inform you of opportunities to meet the training requirements.
Thank you.
And one more question on, did we get to D yet?
I'm looking at D, and I see it says at the June regular meeting. which obviously did not happen here today. Thank goodness it's not policy yet.
And then would this section be revised for special districts, to include special districts at some point?
Yes, although if it says regular LAFCO commissioners, that would be inclusive of the
Okay.
special district regular LAFCO commissioners.
Okay.
Now, this is certainly one for a question. It does state that that the regular LAFCO commissioners would be given first priority for attending the Cal LAFCO annual conference. And if regular commissioners are unable to attend, alternates may attend. Conference attendance would be approved by the commission at the June regular meeting, which is not happening this year, but in future years for
Yeah.
consideration. Okay, continuing on. Number 11.
Perfect.
Number 11, I kind of added in a second part to this policy. It was just about public review of LAFCO records. There also needs to be a public records retention policy, so included it here together. So the first part of this policy is really unchanged. And then goes into records retention and what will be retained. Essentially, that there could be destruction of original records more than 2 years old if an electronic copy is made in some manner, and that those records that are not, or documents, not defined as records would be retained and disposed of after 4 years. And then goes on to define what records would be considered. What items would be considered as records.
Can I ask, where is the electronic housed? How is that defined? In the sense, because right now, are you housing electronic records, or is the county housing an electronic folder? How's that work?
So, the county has an online filing system of records. And when I went through with IT to find the files associated with LAFCO, there were about 10 different folders that were associated with LAFCO in various different locations on the county system. So I have downloaded all of that information and collected it onto a hard drive that is being organized and compiled into one informational source with an organized kind of data and archiving system, and to also rename everything to have consistent naming patterns and such. And then my plan is to re-upload that into a single space in the county's system so that it's accessible by all the departments.
With some sort of backup verification from the county so that we have documentation that's being backed up. That's my only thought.
With backup, okay.
Why the county?
Good question.
So in another one of my LAFCOs, we have bought a Dropbox space to house all of the archives so that it's in a online platform that's accessible by the county as well, but it is LAFCO's space. That's an option as well, or open to any other option, but
Is there any option with the potential new website that you're working on? And how that could be housed maybe on the cloud for access?
good question. Let me see how much space they offer us as far as cloud space, or if there's any space for record keeping there. So it's quite a bit. There's a lot. So, but let me find out what the options are there.
I just have concerns with the county when we are not a county entity.
Agreed.
And it says so in several sections here that we are not. And some in the county might, some in the cities might believe we are also. So just to make sure that there is a separation of church and state, county and LAFCO.
And it could be that we put the backup on the county and have us maintain our data or our data with a backup, and they have a link to, I mean, where it's, you can have it as accessible data, but you're not the holder of the data.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Anybody could have it. I just want to know, I mean, how much trouble did you have finding everything?
Well, she was good, let me tell you. There was an issue between the county line and the city property on Flora Road, and she found a document 50 years old that had not been recorded properly, and so she's good. So I trust.
No,
I trust
that's
her.
what I mean.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that it's all in one place and accessible to all of our successors.
Right. So it was fairly easy to get all of the electronic records off of the county system, but that was because I had IT and they knew what to search for.
Did they
and-
search for more than just county folders? Because I know that I previously had a very large file on LAFCO, but it was because I was trying to gather information and see what was recorded and what wasn't recorded. I was helping the executive director at the time trying to find documents. So I think that kind of information could also be very helpful if they didn't dive into, because I mean, I went through as the recorder and dived into what had never been recorded, saying, I'm sorry, I have no record of any of this. I searched every one of your items in the recording index and there's nothing. So I just
So
think that's good
How do you know what
information.
you don't know?
Yeah, how do you know what you don't know?
Very true. But he keyword searched for LAFCO is how he found the various folders. So whether it was in whatever department's folder, he just grabbed and
Great.
threw that in. So if it said LAFCO, we have it.
Great, that's wonderful to hear.
If there's additional information, I'll have to go back and start hunting around. But I figure first step is just getting that organized in some cohesive manner.
So question. So when we get PRA requests, do those come into LAFCO or are they coming in through the county's request thing and are they being dispersed that way? I mean, how is it handled at the moment?
We have not received any public records requests.
I'd just be curious. I mean, if the county has access to the LAFCO records, are they responding to PRAs or?
It should.
I think we need to put
That's
that
my
in.
question. I guess we were talking about this and access and all that.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, great example.
Perfect example and why it should be in the policy if there are PRA requests that if the county receives them, they have to be forwarded to LAFCO and they are not responsible for responding. LAFCO is. Great comment.
Yeah.
I'll add something to that effect.
Very good discussion.
Sorry. Okay, I'll make sure that that gets added. Probably a letter E there, or something to that effect.
F.
Okay, were there any other questions on these sections? Okay.
One quick question, because it was never put into a policy, but it was a request of the recorder's office when we had a former executive director that indexing of LAFCO documents have some consistency from the recordings so that items can be found more easily through the search process of recorded documents. One of the things we did is we made sure that that application number that is on every one of your files was part of the recording, that the annexation request number was part of the recording. So it would be nice if maybe you have a conversation with the county recorder's office to set up what they've been doing so that there is consistency, because as staff changes in the recorder's office, indexing changes in the recorder's office, and it makes it difficult. You can see the transition between administrations, because for 20 years it was done one way and then all of a sudden it changed, and there's no documentation why. Instead of it coming from their standards at the state level, have it come from what the policy of our LAFCO is for retention purposes and search purposes. That's my only 2 cents there.
Okay, yeah, good idea.
Why can't we ask Series?
Okay, let's see here. Number 12 is going to be legislative policies. I figured that could be an item that we could come back to and add at a later date, depending on the priorities and preferences of the commission.
So then maybe like the newspaper resolution, whatever we decide with that might be in here, right? The printing, whatever the notice.
Right, it could be. But this would be more like what type of legislative policies, what your position will be, or priorities will be in supporting of legislative changes. So for example, you would be supportive of any legislation that intended to preserve agriculture or something like that, just random, or oppositional to any legislature that reduced LAFCO's decision-making power. Just examples of how you would support your position on various legislation is what that would be. But I think that will create more discussion and debate. So that's why I've purposefully saved that for a later date, and let's get the rest of the framework done and come back. Number 13 is about amending the Commissioner Handbook and the administrative policies. That would be this document and what it would require. I have proposed an amendment that would require a supermajority of the commission to make any changes to the Commissioner Handbook and policies here. I probably should change this in the case that we do add special districts. I'll just say by a supermajority vote as opposed to by a number.
I agree with that one.
Okay. And then that's a simple, just edit for content. So the Appendix A, I'm proposing to remove the factors to be considered by LAFCO in reviewing a proposal for a couple of reasons. One, your other set of policies will be all about processing of applications and what factors will be considered by the commission in addition to those that are required by law. Number two is that this is straight out of the law, so it seems duplicative to me to be repeating what the law already says. And there can be occasional changes, so trying to keep it up to date would be quite hard. So instead, I'm proposing that Appendix A be the processing fee schedule for applications that was recently adopted. And then attachment 1 is the roster of districts, cities and districts. I didn't call out my edits on this one so much because I was trying to organize my thoughts, but there's a couple of county service areas at the very end on
Page 40 says, where did they go? I'm like, wait, what happened here?
Where did these go? Yeah, where did these go? I don't know, and neither does the county. So we're looking for them. That's a work in progress. And then finally, attachment 2 is the roster, and that's it. And we've come to the end.
If I could just make a comment on the roster, we've changed our domain name, and so can we make sure the emails are correct on the county members?
Good catch there, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Actually, I tried to give my email away to somebody today, and I didn't know what the domain name was.
Yep.
So on these CSAs, I know it's going to be a process in the future. Some of these CSAs need to be dissolved because there's no services. So that's a job in the future, and then this gets updated with that?
Right, and I have the ability to update that based on the policy. Gives executive officer ability to make edits to certain parts of the policies, and this is one of them because it will be ever changing. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But yes, I think there'll be a massive cleanup of the county service areas and the dissolutions and finding our lost ones through the CSA MSR process that will be in a couple of years. It all takes time. Any other questions or comments about the policies?
I just wanted to make a name correction on.
Make sure I have that right.
CSA 38, you have it as Ashford Heights. Is it Ashford Highlands?
It very well could be. I can look into that to make sure.
And if it says Heights, it's because they must have somehow changed the name because it actually is Highlands on their monument sign. It's where I live.
Okay, then I'm assuming that it was just because the previous one says Heights and.
Yeah. But it was referred to as Heights for years, and I never understood why.
Okay.
I got a question on CSAs. The only control we have over that is MSRs, correct?
Correct. Well, I mean, yeah, MSRs. Mm-hmm.
Because the county is the one that hires the person that kind of oversees all of those CSAs, correct?
Right, but they still need to come to LAFCO for any kind of changes. So any kind of boundary changes, any kind of, same as other special districts.
So if the county is hiring a new, I don't know what they call them, director of CSAs, they have to come to LAFCO?
Oh, no, it's just like an independent special district. When they're changing staff at like Sunny Slope, they wouldn't come to LAFCO. So they don't have to for the CSAs.
Okay.
No, it's Montebello State.
So the only, well, explain what we do, how we do have control over CSAs, if any.
It's exactly the same as other special districts. Same kind of thing. We can review the services that are being provided. We can create spheres of influence for the CSAs.
Okay.
We can initiate dissolutions for CSAs, just like other special districts. They have to come to LAFCO for any kind of boundary change. It's all just the same. It's just that the County Board of Supervisors happens to be the governing body as opposed to an independent governing body.
So what happens if you're doing an MSR on a CSA and we find mischief going on somehow? How would we deal with that?
Same as we would with the other special districts. We would make recommendations in a service review, make determinations, send it to county staff that's overseeing the CSA, conduct any outreach, and then also make a decision on the sphere of influence. If it's nefarious, if we're talking about criminal activity, then we'd probably also get district attorney or relevant other agencies involved.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
And at some point when you're finished with all the MSRs, we work on CSA dissolution.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We haven't you.
We'll do a
Also,
roundup. Yeah.
when we're supposed to do MSRs every 5 years, correct? We discussed this before. And are you stretching those out so they do 5, so that you're almost doing MSRs constantly? Yes. Correct?
Yep, over the next 5 years.
That hasn't happened in the past.
That's why we have Jennifer.
And I think Jennifer added onto the county website the schedule, so you can get the schedule of all of the 5-year plan. And then future LAFCOs will update that plan as they move forward.
Is that because we report to the county now?
No.
Sorry.
No. It's on the website, but that website's being moved, right, Jennifer?
Yes, and that's in my
it is.
executive officer report.
Okay.
Okay.
But we will never lose Vanessa, right?
No, couldn't do without her. Okay. So if that's it, then for the policies, you'll be seeing this again in August, a final version, and we'll have any other relevant discussion, but then I'll propose it for adoption at that meeting in August. So if you have any other thoughts over the next 2 months before that meeting, let me know. I can still make edits, and I'll just call out whatever those edits were at that August meeting to ensure that you support that before we make that adoption. Okay? Do we want to move on to, yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I thought you were searching for it.
No, I thought you said. I'm waiting for you. Go ahead. Move on. Carry on.
Okay.
Sorry, my bad.
Late.
I missed. Yeah, no, sorry. Yes, please.
Let's see here. All sorts of things on this one. I attended the CalAFCO staff workshop in April. That was an excellent workshop, actually. It's held in Pleasanton, and they had some very information. Wait, I already told you about this because I was here in May. Take this off. We've already discussed. Scratch.
I'm gonna say we
Next
had this
thing.
update.
I was like, I feel like I've said this. Yes, I have. Sunny Slope Water Grants and Reorganization Update. So I have been involved in the regular monthly meetings about this process. They have grants to run some water mains and provide water to a few communities. And LAFCO has been kept involved in that process because they are going to start submitting applications. The reorganization is going to be broken down into 2 separate applications, one for Best Roads, which is currently a mutual water company, and because it's not a special district, it's fairly straightforward. All it is an annexation, and then LAFCO has nothing to do with the mutual water company. That's not under our jurisdiction. So it's, in essence, just an annexation. And then the other areas to the south, the only area of concern for LAFCO will be considered just an annexation similarly, but Tres Pinos will be divesting itself of its water services once that area gets annexed. So, two-part process. First is going to be that Best Roads area, and then second is the area to the south that they'll be bringing into the Sunny Slope County Water District boundaries.
Madam Chair, if I may, in the Tres Pinos divesting of the water services, that leaves them with wastewater only, and that currently is part of your MSR review on wastewater. So because that service will be removed, it kind of changes what it looks like for them. So that will all be included in your wastewater?
Yes, we have the option in the MSR right now for Tres Pinos to also kind of divest itself, would be end up being dissolved by having Sunny Slope just take over both services. That makes sense if
Yeah,
you're
that
running
makes sense.
utility lines, et cetera.
Madam Chair, did they have to go through a 218 process? Trust Venus?
So they will have to go through a Prop 218 process as part of this entire project in order to be charging the rates that are appropriate to the area. LAFCO's process is not contingent upon that Prop 218 process being complete by the time the application comes to us. They can be in the middle of the process or whatever the case may be. We just need to ensure that there's adequate
What happens if
financing.
they doesn't go through?
Then that will be up to Sunny Slope to determine what to do.
What about the other Best and what was the other 3? Even though they're not a district, they're just what did you call them? A water
Mutual Water Company.
water company. Do they have a 218 process too?
Mutual Water Companies? Yes.
No, they don't. It's owned, it's operated by the homeowners, and their board is chosen by the homeowners. So they've gone through the whole voting process within their own system.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, it's my water system. I can't wait.
Good to know. Okay, so that is upcoming. And I know they're working on the application process right now for that Best Roads one.
Yeah, it's being funded through the SAFER program and the State Water Resources Control Board. So annexation, they are not being, Best Road is not being annexed into, is it an actual annexation or a, okay,
Annexed into Sunny Slope County Water District.
into their district? Okay,
So the district is big.
got it.
Let's see here. There was a question about at our last meeting when the contracts for the executive officer and legal counsel services, when those sunset or expire. The legal counsel contract expires as of September 1, I want to say.
This year?
Yes. And you have the ability to extend it for another 2-year term. So I will bring that forward at your meeting in August as well to extend that contract. The executive officer contract actually doesn't expire until June of 2025. And then let's see here, the tax sharing status for application. I don't know what the status is. There's been some staff changeover, so I have not heard back from county staff on where the tax sharing agreement is in process. Website.
I have these islands in the city, over the years, 16, I think Bob Bateman, we did 16 roughly, if I recall. And then Bill about 6. So, and I thought we had about maybe 15 left, 14 left
Okay.
to complete all of the islands. And it might go on forever if we have to wait on tax sharing agreements. Can we, what I'm asking is, can we annex them in to the city and then let the city and the county?
Yeah, the tax sharing agreement has to be finalized before I can consider an application complete, and then LAFCO can consider it. So it's part of the law. It just has to be completed before LAFCO can consider it. And generally, it wouldn't be an issue if the city were the one submitting the application, but it didn't. This one is landowner application, so it triggered the tax sharing agreement negotiations. I would say, though, as part of this, the question about islands, that that can be addressed as part of the city MSRs that will be conducted this 24-25 fiscal year. So we can certainly delve deeper into islands and what still needs to be annexed and promote a prioritization list with the city. Okay. And then website development. I have met with Streamline. We already have a URL. Will be sanbenitolafco.org. It is not up and running, so don't go and try it out. The plan is to be at our August meeting. I'll be able to share what it looks like. It will not be active and available to the public, but just following that, based on the commission's feedback, we'll have it up and live just after that. So the aim is by September 1st, you will have an active, independent website.
Nice.
Madam Chair? Yeah. I believe there's a push in government entities to why we had to change our emails and our domain at the county is because we have to go to .gov for security purposes. Is there a reason we aren't a .gov or couldn't be a .gov?
So I'll have to research the requirements. Sometimes there's you have to be filed as X,
Gotcha.
Y, and Z to meet the requirements for that particular URL type. I can tell you that all of the other Streamline agencies are pretty much .org.
Okay. Just didn't want you to have to do it again because it's always a pain changing that at the end. And if we are able to do a .gov, I believe there's added security that happens on the websites for .govs. And so if you have questions, I would refer you to the county IT staff because they're in the process of doing it right now.
Okay, I'll reach out to them and to Streamline to find out about that possibility. And then also, just last week, I met with AMBAG about their draft population growth projections through 2060. They've got, this is their kind of second round draft of population projections, and they seemed fairly in line with what I am seeing and anticipating. I had a few questions about City of Hollister growth that they were showing, but I was really appreciative that they included LAFCO in that process of making those population projections. Sounded like they're having quite a few conversations with all of the agencies, so it was very different from other government or COGs that I've dealt with in that projection process.
Yeah, I thought San Benito County COG managed our RNA numbers and not AMBAG. I know we sit on AMBAG. We as supervisors, there's two members of AMBAG that sit on AMBAG for San Benito County, but our RNAs, our RENA numbers are governed by the San Benito COG.
Right, so the AMBAG numbers are purely population projections, and then I think they're also responsible for the transportation plan. I don't know about RENA numbers.
Okay. COG
I would
does
agree
arena
with
numbers as
COG.
well as the transportation. So I guess they're working in sync with COG and AMBAG together. I don't know, I'm just surmising.
How do they get their information?
AMBAG, they get it from the agencies themselves, requests to the cities and the county on potential developments and past historical trends, things like that.
Are they fairly accurate?
I would think so. What they're going off of for immediate projections are lists of approved projects. So that's pretty accurate, at least for the short term. It's the long term that becomes more of a question mark. Because it's greatly directed by whatever the policies are of the local governments, of the land use authorities, so which could change in 10 years. So who's to say what the projections may be? Anyways, that was.
LAFCO can't change any of that, right?
No, I think they were just looking to see if I had any insight on if it seemed like the numbers were appropriate to what I had experienced and was seeing here in the county. And it did, except for there was just, they were showing for City of Hollister by 2030, a pretty significant jump in population. And I don't know if that's really necessarily indicative of the projects that I have seen or proposals I have seen. So they said they were going to go back and check on that, but everything else seemed fairly reasonable. And that's it. That's all for me.
Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner announcements or requests for future agenda items?
I don't have any requests, but can I get them meeting days for the July, August, and September? I know I should have them somewhere, but they're not on my calendar, and that's not your fault, that's mine. But I'm trying to rectify that.
So we're dark in July,
Okay.
and then in August, it will be August.
The 8th?
Oh my goodness, sorry, I'm looking at 2025. I'm getting ahead of myself. Yes, August the 8th,
Okay.
and then September the 12th.
Okay. And I know a lot's going to happen on August the 8th, but I'm just letting you know that I will not be, I'll be out of state until August the 9th. And so my apologies. I just made those arrangements in lieu of a meeting that I had to delay my plans for a special board of supervisors meeting. So I apologize, but I will be back in town on August the 9th and I will not be available. There's a possibility to attend by Zoom, but I'll be out of state, so I don't know. I don't know how this board feels and what my attendance requirement is.
Are you going to be out of state on official business?
No, I-
No.
personal.
Okay, yeah. So then you can't vote if you're participating on Zoom. So perhaps you could have the alternate attend on your behalf.
Okay, that sounds great.
I got a request for a future agenda. I'd like to put the hospital on the agenda for discussion, for information. That's all.
Thank you. Anything? Anything? I'm good.
So for that, we have a request for agenda item, and technically by the policies, there needs to be either chair approval or majority approval of the commission. So the request was for the healthcare district to be included as a discussion item on an agenda in order to maybe clarify what LAFCO's roles are regarding the healthcare district. So is there agreement?
I don't have a problem with it clarifying what our roles are,
Yeah.
but it's not moving
Right of
or
that.
changing the MSR review schedule is the only thing I don't want to change.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I'd like to find out the rules, because if it ever comes before us, what can we do and what can we not do? That's all I want, is a discussion.
Roles and responsibilities. Perfect. Thank you for that. So we're all in agreement with that. A motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, ball.
Bye.
Aye. Aye, bye.